Well, Los Angeles Clippers owner Donald Sterling will not go quietly into the good night. He says the NBA is singling him out and he refuses to be forced out. He also says his conversation with his mistress, which sparked the debate, of course, was illegally recorded. Sterling's attorney says his client not interested in selling the team despite claims by his estranged wife otherwise. He also says he's received offers of more than $2.5 billion for the franchise. Well, we have a lot to do in this next half hour, so let's start with this one and bring in our legal dream team for that. Mark Furnish, professor at Brooklyn Law, is argued before the U.S. Supreme Court. Doug Von Oist, a founding partner of Karsten Von Oist, focusing on corporate misconduct, selected by the Legal 500 as one of the most influential trial lawyers in the nation. Jim Koutsouras, criminal defense attorney in Manhattan, lecturing at New York Law School and a visiting professor at the University of Birmingham in England. Okay, every time, guys, I think I got this thing figured out, there's another twist and turn. First off, we got earlier in the week that the wife said through sources that she was going to work out a sale, and she was going to try and do it, Mark, before the league board of governors, in fact the owners here, were going to have their vote where 2/3 had to be in support of it, 3/4 I actually believe, of which the votes apparently were there. Now all of a sudden we hear from Sterling saying not so fast. What do you make of the last week?
I don't know what to make of it, but I think that the league has a problem on their hands beyond the reasons we discussed last week and the reasons that are rehearsed in the papers, like the illegal taping and the absence of a clear provision in the contract providing for the stripping of ownership in these circumstances. The real problem is that the wife is, as Jim knows from a forfeiture case that we handled together, basically an innocent owner here. She has a 50% ownership stake in the team. She hasn't done anything wrong. She didn't make these horrible, odious comments that everybody's up in arms about. So why should she be forced to sell her share of the team and incur this horrific tax liability that they're talking about in the papers when she didn't do anything wrong?
Well, let's play this out. Let's say she wants to sell, okay? And you can make an argument that from a valuation of the franchise, it's never going to be higher than it actually is right now with all the attention, notoriety, whatever you want to call it.
Right, but the tax consequences, if they pass it down to their kids, it's owned in a trust fund, they're going to incur a horrible capital gains consequence that they shouldn't have to incur.
Okay. Doug, she says she wants to get out. He says he wants to hold on to it and he's going to fight this thing tooth and nail. At the end of the day, it's not that it's a little different than me being forced to sell, let's say, my business. They joined a private select country club, in effect, here that said, you know, you're going to join, but it's not the U.S. Constitution you're going to be under. You're going to be under the Constitution of the NBA. Why doesn't their rules and regs trump all others and they can decide who they want their members to be or not? They're not keeping the sale price. They get an offer for it. Assuming it's fair market, they walk away with a lot more money than they paid for it. Why should, in effect, he be able to refuse when he signed on that he was part of a big club?
Well, ultimately, he may not be able to refuse. Ultimately, they may be able to take it from him. But I think in the meantime, he's exercising his rights and he's also creating leverage. If he, at the beginning, says, you know what, you got me, you could take my team, he's got no leverage. You're looking at a man who has options at this point. He's exercising them.
But aren't his options, though, Jim, that to be as difficult as he wants? The league can also play their own set of cards here. If they want to, they can, in effect, declare everybody on the franchise a free agent. They can, in effect, also say, you know what, we're going to bar you from being able to participate in the NBA draft. Arguably, they could even say, we're not going to let you schedule other teams to make it difficult to go there as free agents that would go there, free the coaches from the contracts. You want to talk about evaluation of a product. He claims he got $2.5 billion. That's ridiculous. No team, you know, is north of $1 billion, and even the Lakers, I think that's ambitious for them. But my point is, whatever the number he can get for it, it goes down precipitously if the league says, you know what, you can keep your franchise if you want to fight us for it, but we don't have to play with you. And then where's he going to go?
He's going to go nowhere. I think he's bored. I mean, you know, I'm sorry, if the price has gone up, let's say to $1.5 billion, even with the tax consequences, sell the team. I don't know what anybody gains from this. You're absolutely right. The league plays hardball, he plays hardball, and who suffers? The players suffer, the coaches suffer, the fans suffer. I mean, I think he's got an uphill battle. I agree with Mark. I think the wife doesn't have as much of an uphill battle, but they can create chaos, and I just don't know what the end game here is.
Well, they will create chaos because assuming that this vote takes place on June 3rd and they're stripped of their ownership and control of the team reverts to the league, to the commissioner, they'll be in court, the Sterlings will, in 24 and 48 hours seeking a preliminary injunction on the ground that there's no specific contractual provision in the league charter that applies to this kind of behavior. Private statements, ugly statements, made in the privacy of one's own home and illegally taped, and probably a judge will issue a TRO.
But let me just ask the three of you, because you've been in these situations I'll describe here, albeit with different clients and different stakes. The guy's 81. Assuming he's crazy as a fox and not just crazy, and he's been in more courtrooms than just about anybody else here, he's not going to reacquire.
In the dock?
He'll never get his good name back, assuming that he ever was.
He doesn't need his good
no,
name.
But my point is, he said, have you ever said to a client, listen, you can keep fighting this. You can keep paying my legal bills for the next 2.5
What's
years.
the end game?
You'll feed me very good, but at the end, you can't win. You're not going to get
clients
more.
like this don't care about that. They have, gobs and gobs of money. They didn't get where they are in the world by being shrinking violets. They're willful. This guy will fight, and he will enjoy the fight. And as Jimmy says, he probably has nothing else to do. He's 80 years
but
old.
there's a son, there's the family who's got to also say, we don't need this. You're the idiot who ran around, embarrassed mom or whatever with the whatever, right? And the affairs and all the rest. You're the one on the tape. You're not going to be here much longer, and we got to still carry the same name. Does that ever play in where finally somebody just says no mas?
Not with this
It
guy.
usually
No, this
should,
guy.
but
Not
this
with
guy,
this
his girlfriend's got the visor on his head. They got
This
can't
is
do
not,
anything
this
more
is
than
not
this.
your family. This is meet the Sterlings.
Have you seen Doug's hat? I mean, I've seen the visor on it, but yeah. All right.
This is the Addams family with billions of dollars. I mean,
I don't know who Lurch is, but yeah. All right. I have a feeling this won't be the last time we'll talk about this one. But coming back here, there's a case overseas that I'm fascinated what these three think will be the implications here stateside. In Switzerland, a court has ruled that Hitler's Nazi salute should not always be classified as a form of racial discrimination. Now, we'll talk about that and also kind of the lines as to where somebody's ugly speech, we saw what it can get you as an NBA owner, but ugly speech should cost you your job. We'll talk about that as well. Stay with us.